We can get started. I start and fantastic. Welcome everyone. I'm Ségolène. I'm the organizer of the event and the ambassador of Women in AI in Belgium. I'm very happy to see all of you tonight. Very happy to have our fantastic speakers who are timely and who have accepted to come tonight. Our host that you will learn all about, Philippe, who is here with me, the moderator. We have our sponsors that you saw as well, Procter & Gamble, who won yesterday an award for their commitment towards gender equality in the workplace. So I'm very happy to see all of you tonight. First of all, a few words about my role as ambassador of Women in AI in Belgium. So I'm the CEO of an AI company, an AI startup which is called Cantify. And last year, even before, we needed to grow our team and to hire some machine learning engineers, so AI engineers. We started disseminating some job offers, and I noticed something very particular, which is I didn't receive any application from any women. And I started getting a bit interested in that issue, and I learned that there is low representation. This is the least I can say of women in artificial intelligence. And I got interested in the topic. I met Caroline, which you will hear later on, who is the co-founder of Women in AI, which is now a global network. And that's how my journey as Belgian ambassador of Women in AI started. It was 1 year ago, basically, that we met, and in the meantime, the network has grown, and it's a global network. It's fantastically growing, and it shows that there are many women, but not only, because it's a society topic, of course. Many people interested in this important issue and important field of getting women more interested in artificial intelligence and more present in that field of the economy. And what are we going to do in Belgium? So this tonight is a launch event. I see many people are interested to learn about AI, to show more about ladies that are doing interesting things around artificial intelligence, not only science as such, but also beyond that, because there are a lot of opportunities generated with AI. So if you haven't joined Women in AI yet, and if you want to be kept informed about what is going to happen, you can join online on womeninai.co. And if you have specific ideas of interesting things that you would like to see in Belgium, in Brussels, interesting topics that you would need to learn about, interesting fields where you think there are opportunities to set up some projects, feel free to speak to me after the event, or to drop me an email. It will be fantastic to get in touch. So tonight is the launch event of the network, and we have not only amazing ladies speaking, but also an amazing man who is moderating. So Philippe, I leave you the floor.
Thank you. Thank you very much, and a very warm welcome to all of you here in the House of the Data Science community of Belgium. This is your space basically to organize events, to have a meeting room, or to start an idea and try and build it into a business, or to have a class, or give a class, share knowledge. This is really a space that has been defined for that, and we got the support from the region of Brussels that allowed us to do that. I created the data science community in 2014. We had our first big event on knowledge sharing with more than 500 people in 2015. It was a full day event, 72 speakers, all sequentially behind each other. It was a very long day. At the end of the day, we realized that we, out of the 72 speakers, we only had 15 women speaking. And at that moment, I decided that the year after that, in 2016, we would have an only women event called the DI Summit Only Women event. And we managed to do that. We had 40 speakers, and the reason why the first year we had mainly 80% of men is because when there is a call of paper, when there is a call for speakers, men are less afraid to step forward and say, let me do it. They don't really think as hard on what might happen if they do it wrong. And when we organized a second year event with only women speakers, we didn't have to look very far to find the right candidates to speak. We are very fortunate at the ULB, at the VUB, in Ghent, in Leuven, to have this university network of professors that are very high rated in the academic world on their knowledge of artificial intelligence and quantitative and statistic science and so on. So don't think that the ladies are not there. And if I think if an organization like this has something to do, is to make the ladies more frank and say, step forward and take the mic and speak. Yeah? There is a call for paper again this year for an event that we are organizing on the 26th of June. And I can tell you, ladies, we have more men than ladies. And and when there is a project to be talked about, it's mainly men that will talk about how they manage to do the project and things like that. So step forward, ladies. We really need you to come and speak on the 26th of June. So remember that this is your place. This is your evening as well. We will have an hour and a half of very interesting talks, and I'm really looking forward to that. The first speaker is the co-founder of Women in AI. And we are so proud that she's here and that the Women in AI organization chose to do it at Digitizer. Caroline Leer, the floor is yours.
Is it working? Yes. Okay. So first of all, don't thank me. Thank you for hosting us. Thanks to Ségolène for making this happen. Thanks to all the speakers for being here. I'm just the messenger of a big initiative, and so it's thanks for inviting me to present Women in AI. So who am I? I am one of the 3 co-founders of Women in AI. I'm also working in an AI startup called Snips, who is doing embedded voice recognition. I'm a sales representative, so I'm not a tech person, I'm on the business side. And I'm gonna take the next 10 minutes to explain you a bit how Women in AI was born. Before that, I just want to have an idea of who is in the room. Who here is working in tech? Very few. Okay. Who is an engineer? Wow. 1, 10? Great. So who are the other people? So let's try. I don't know. Just to know roughly, business. Sorry? Oh, policy, because we're in Brussels. Okay. Business. Okay. Marketing. Finance. Law. Wow. We have 10. Oh, that's interesting. So see, this is really representative of the interest of artificial intelligence for usually in the society. At Women in AI, we have all different kind of profile. We have lawyers, we have surgeons, so it's totally normal. So a bit about Women in AI. So first of all, just a quick reminder about what is AI with very simple words. So basically, this is a set of computer techniques, science, which goal is to put some intelligence inside machine, inside software, to make them behave a bit like human. So it's not human intelligence, but we're trying to have machine and software producing some human behavior. This is the idea. And today, AI is really eating the world, basically. I'm not gonna comment on all this data because I don't even have idea of what bytes of data quintillion means, but I guess it's a lot. So because we have so much data today in the world, AI is exploding, and what is key to realize here is that it's going to impact us on our daily lives. That means that tomorrow you're going to have AI that are going to decide if you should get this insurance, if you should get this loan, if you should go to jail, if you should get hired, if you should benefit from this medical therapy, for instance. All these algorithms are going to be trained to take decisions that usually human takes. It can be scary, but it's also a huge opportunity to take better decisions than human, above all when it comes to treating with a lot of millions, quintillions of data. But it's also something we need to be careful about, because as AI is reproducing human behavior in some automatized way, meaning when an algorithm is running, it's running and you're not going to stop it, and it's going to reproduce what he learned. So basically it's going to shape somehow the society of tomorrow, and this is why we need to wonder who is building this AI, who decide how they should be trained, on which data set they should be trained. And how, meaning like, you know, when you write some code, when you write algorithm, it's a bit like if you were, in simple word, if you were telling a story. So the people who are doing that, they have a perspective, they have a vision, they have a cultural bias sometimes. And so we need to wonder who these people are, having in mind that only 22% of AI professionals globally are women. And even less when you think about the AI labs in GAFAs, it's more around 12%. So it's 1 woman out of 10 people. And it's crucial to have way more women involved, because otherwise the big risk, and it's starting already, is to reproduce some gender bias inside the algorithm, because we're only going to have men thinking about how this algorithm should work. Think about some very female topics. You wouldn't like men to decide, okay, based on this data, the decision should be this. It should also be, women should also be involved. And they should be involved because AI is also about shaping a new society. And this is a key opportunity for women to take their place, and not to let only men decide. So this is why we did create Women in AI 2 years ago. So it's a non-profit. It's working toward a more gender-inclusive AI. And our main mission is pretty simple here again, is to help increasing female representation and participation in the field of AI. How we do it? We have a very strong DNA, which is community. Everything we're doing is community-driven. So this is via the community that we're going to organize events, that we're going to do education, and that we're going to also work on the research side. So community first. We have today a community of 1,500 members from 80 countries, 25 ambassadors, Ségolène is one of them, who are growing community in each country. Here you see some of them, so they're really everywhere in the world. Recently we had new ambassadors in Costa Rica, one in Japan, one in Pakistan. So this is also so interesting because we have a very, very, very diverse community of ambassadors, so various point of views. We have strong value also in our community, which are to support each other, share a maximum of our expertise, of our experience, to care, of course, and this is key for us women who were saying, Philippe was saying that it's hard to put women on stage, and it's true that sometimes we don't dare, even for me right now, it's difficult. And we really believe that when we're together in the community, it helps us, to do the first step, go on stage, try one time, and then reproduce. And when you have your peers with you, it's way easier. And the two last values, it's empowering and enabling, and this is key. in Women AI community today, we have real pools of expertise. We have women experts, and we have these strengths. We could potentially tomorrow have an impact because we have researchers, we have business people, we have academic startups, and we could really pave the way to some new change. We have the expertise. Yes. So community again, so we have a Slack, and I invite all of you to join this Slack after you will have joined Women in AI, which is super active. Half of the members are on it. We are also pushing role models. We're writing stories about our members. This is super important to communicate about women, to put face on these women who are paving the way and trying to change things. We're meeting as well because online is not enough. Here it's the WaiTALK event who was in Amsterdam with our ambassadors Eve together with L'Oreal for the International Women's Day. On the educational side, we've launched Way to Go around 8 months ago. And basically, we're trying to think about different formats to educate tech or non-tech people from every age, so from a very young age until when they're working in companies. So far, we have 3 formats. So we have a camp. A camp basically is an introduction to robotics, AI. It's a 2-day camp targeting teenagers. We have Way Alumni. We started this year in France. It's a pilot. So basically, the idea is to go and meet high school teenagers who wants to study STEM and to really follow them, not only going to their high school and say hi, but then we follow them. They have mentors. They can get support, and we're going to follow them during all their studies. When they want to be looking for internship, we're going to help them. When they're going to be looking for job, we're going to help them. And for women who are already working, we're doing masterclass. The first one was launched last week by our ambassadors in the UK, and it was about ethics in AI, basically how to build a product which is ethically compliant when it comes to AI. So this is for the education, and our ambassadors also have the mission to replicate this format in the country. They can adapt when they have specificities, but this is also the goal. In terms of events, we also want to push women experts on stage. We want them under the spotlight. So this is why we created this event, WaiTALK, which is very simple. The concept is 1 topic on AI, 2, 3, 4 women expert in AI on stage. Sometimes we have men as well, and we need to have more, by the way. And so far, we're going in 1 different city every month, so it's a very, very active event, and we had the chance to have more than 50 great speakers on stage. Here you have some pics. Sydney was in Feb with Beth. Elena, who is our youngest ambassador, she's studying Cambridge, did a WaiTALK in March, and we had Paris last year. So to give you an example, this was AI and social good, difference between research and engineering perspective when it comes to AI, and the last one was about data sovereignty. So every time it's a different topic. And the last thing we're doing, we're also curating, of course, a women speaker for tech events because it's a real issue. So we have a lot of tech or non-tech event organizer coming to us and asking if we have some speakers for them. So we're super happy to do this as well. And I'm very long, but we encourage all our members to write also an article about AI. So we have a Medium page where you can go and see their story, see their job, see their thoughts. We're organizing, and this is my last slide, we're organizing an awards for women and AI entrepreneurs who will take place, which will be celebrated on March 4th, is it? No, what is this date? March, no, it will be during April AI night, but you need to apply before March 31st. So if any of you here is an entrepreneur in AI, please have a look on our website and apply. And this is my last slide. So as Segun said, please join Women in AI, and we hope to see you on Slack. Thanks.
Excellent job. So we see 22% of women involved in AI. When you look at on Belgium level, when you look at the data science community and the AI community of Belgium, it's about 17%. But when you look at the women who left, who had their master's degree in the last 5 years and who joined the community, the balance is much better there. So the youngsters, we're nearly at 50-50 there when you look at the new who just finished university. When you look at the research centers at the universities, you will see that it's also a stronghold of women. At the VUB, there are only women, I think, in the AI labs, and at the ULB, there are very strong women there. One of the strong women is Christine Kasteckers. She's our next speaker. She's director of the LISA, which is the Laboratory of Image Synthesis and Analysis. She also worked with in the team of Hugues Bersini at the ULB, and I will leave you the floor.
Hello, everybody. I would like to begin by thank you, the organizer, and for giving me the opportunity to present my research background in artificial intelligence. In fact, my present research are in between medicine and computational science and engineering. And in fact, after a long and close collaboration with the pathology department of the Erasmus Hospital and the laboratory of image analysis, we decided, Isabelle Salmon and me, to create DIAPAT. DIAPAT is a digital image analysis in pathology department, which is included in the center, the CMMI, which is the Center for Microscopic and Molecular Imaging at Gosselies. And this research essentially focuses on oncology, cancerology. And perhaps you know that, unfortunately, every year there is an increasing number of cancer, which are new cases of cancer which are diagnosed. And you see some number there for 2025, about 80,000 new cases are expected. A key actor for the diagnosis of this severe disease are the pathologists. I don't know if you know what made a pathologist, but the essential task in diagnosis made by the pathologist is to analyze the tissue which are resected by surgery or by biopsy, and which is processed to provide very thin section of the tissue, which are submitted to different staining and mount on glass side, to be after that analyzed through a microscope by a pathologist. This is thus a visual analysis, which is based on various large number of criteria, which are complex, which concern the tissue morphology, but also the analysis of biomarkers. What are biomarkers? There are different kinds of biomarkers. They can concern genomics, the gene, the expression of this gene, and also the proteins. And the research at DIAPAT focus on the expression of these proteins, which can be revealed in the tissue by immunohistochemistry. But you can see there the result. It's a staining of the tissue, where you have the proteins in brown and the rest of the tissue is in blue. And this kind of pattern of expression has to be objectively and quantitatively analyzed to provide useful measurement as biomarkers, which are in fact biological indicator of the disease state. And thus it's useful for the diagnosis, but also for the prognosis to predict the course of the disease, and finally to have also good therapeutic decision. Okay, until now, the main tool of the pathologist is the microscope. But from several years, there exists scanner, this wall slide scanner. This scanner are able to digitalize the slide, the microscopic slide, to provide image which can be used like a microscope at different magnification and so on. Then the big advantage to have this digital image is to be able to apply computer tool to make the analysis. And then it's to improve the reproducibility of the measurement and the accuracy. And among these tools, there are artificial intelligence algorithms. Okay, from this moment, the aims is to extract as much as information as possible from this tissue. And this is sometimes called histomics, which histo for histology, which means tissue, mix like genomics, then extract information, a lot of information, as much as possible. One kind of task and some algorithm we develop is to be able to refine the evaluation of the proteins in the tissue by make this kind of delineation of specific structure in the tissue. This is called segmentation in image analysis. And you can see two tissue there. With the first one, you have the segmentation of the glandular epithelium in normal tissue from colon, and in the other side is from cancer. And you see the strong deformation. And then we learn we train some algorithm to be able to make this delineation automatically, because if not, the pathologists have to make this manually, and this take a lot of time. And how can we make that? Then by using machine learning. This is the standard way, the standard algorithm, which you can need of examples, what you want. Then this is from image. We want to have as output the delineation of this structure. And then by providing this example of image and delineation and segmentation, we are able to train the algorithm to make this automatically. But in this previously, with the standard algorithm, we need to extract by image analysis, to extract different measurements, to be able to provide to the algorithm, and the algorithm with that are able to classify each pixel as gland, or epithelium, or not epithelium. This is a classification problem. But with the recent development in deep learning, this extraction of features are included in the algorithm. We do not need to provide expert features which are handcrafted. No, the algorithms are able to extract this interesting feature to be able to make the best segmentation as possible. But there is a cost, and the cost is the number of examples we have to provide. It is much larger than the standard algorithm. Okay, this is a problem, in fact. Then, in our approach, we integrate in the algorithm a methodology to increase artificially this example, and this is called data augmentation. Data augmentation is, in fact, from the real example, we introduce different variation that can be observed in the real example. Variation in the morphology by some elastic transformation, variation in the staining, in the luminosity, and so on. And then from about 100 of real example, we generate 10,000, for example, of example, and with that we are able to train our very deep neural network, and you can see a scheme below. And you have the result. You have the result there, but no, it is not. See. Do you think something? No. Okay, it's not a problem. You have here by the no, this is nothing. You have the first column. It's the initial. Is the the original image. The second one is the segmentation made by the expert. The third one is the segmentation provided by the algorithm, and you have the result, the overlap between the two. When the yellow color indicates a perfect match. And you can see red color. Red color indicates part of the tissue which is classified as tissue not gland, which is not in the epithelium by the algorithm, but it is included in the gland by the expert. But if you go to the original image, you can see that in fact the algorithm is true, because the red part are in fact all in the tissue, which is not into the gland. Then the algorithm is more precise than the expert. Just to present another example, the same algorithm, the same kind of algorithm, standard machine learning or deep learning, are able also to provide, to assist the pathologist by providing a diagnosis with a probability, with a certainty level. Okay, and then you can see then in 2016, the evaluation of this kind of algorithm was very near the expert performance in the diagnosis. Okay, just to finish, some words about the future. The future, in fact, is to integrate all the data we can have from a patient. This is the different imaging, digital pathology image, but also the other image modalities, the clinical imaging, the genomics, the molecular data, the patient history, the symptology, and the confrontation with public database, all together to be able to improve the knowledge about this kind of disease, but also to improve the diagnosis and then the therapy decision. Okay, just to finish, this work is the work of a team. It's not only mine. And then we have different collaborators from DIAPAT, from the Erasmus Hospital, and from the LISA laboratory. Thank you for your attention.
Excellent, thank you very much. So, tu l'as branché. Our next presenter is Ségolène. She's the Belgian driving force behind Women in AI and CEO of Quantify. Give her a warm applause.
Thank you. Merci, Christine. Yeah, so Christine gave you a very good example of the implementation of AI on a specific use case, which is health and cancer detection. And I have another perspective, which is this perspective of an entrepreneur. And I'm going to share with you some reflections about which are the opportunities I see now and in the future for around artificial intelligence. First of all, a few words of presentation about myself, but very, very quickly, because I don't like to speak about myself. When I speak in French, people always wonder what is this accent coming from. So I'm French, I'm not Belgium. So when I speak French here, people are always, even if I spend a lot of time, always see and hear that I'm not Belgian. But I've been in Brussels for 12 years already, or even more, 14 years. Here you may know about, some of you not. So the EU strategy for innovation, and I worked in that field for a few years. I worked helping innovators. Then I joined the industry also, like working with innovators in different universities, companies, and so on. And I was always working with those innovators, and I thought, why not moving on the other side of the border? And I moved to the other side of the border. I created a first company. Then I created Cantify in 2016. And we are here today. We are growing companies working on AI for health. We have projects in cardiology. We have projects in marketing, in pricing. So we are working on different things. So we are an AI technology company. And we create proprietary software. So we create AI solutions for other companies. We are also developing our own products. We have a few recognitions, but I'm going I'm not going to go into details because time is scarce tonight. So AI, you hear today that because you've either curious or you already know about AI and you want to learn more, but of course you've noticed, that AI is everywhere. There is a new strategy since last week for Belgium on AI, so you had a lot of articles about that, so there will be a lot of projects hopefully on that. We have a new plan on AI at European level, so it's something that is growing. It's a technology and a field of technology which is growing. The popularity, I looked at that this morning to look at the popularity on Google Trends of AI. So this is the trends of the word, when you look for artificial intelligence on Google, this is how it has been growing for 4 years now. So it's a topic that is more and more interesting. It's more and more interesting, and also you have a lot of positive sentiment about AI. So these are figures about the media sentiment. Is it rather positive? Is it rather negative? And you can see it's quite positive, even if you have contradicting voices, of course, that you hear, and it's normal. What are the challenges I see and I hear about? 50%. This is the tasks in current jobs over the world that can be automated. So it's not like the number of jobs, but it's tasks in currently existing jobs that can be automated using existing technologies, according to a study from McKinsey. So of course, it asks us a lot of questions about our jobs and how can we make our best of this tendency and how to plan well for our future. There is something else which is called automation angst, the fear of automation. When you think about AI, you have these pictures of robots with scary looks and crazy eyes, and this is the image of AI in pop culture. But AI is not only about automation. There are several ways to implement AI, and what we see in our daily work is that AI is a lot about augmentation, so helping people do better than their jobs. So Christine spoke about the help of an algorithm to help radiologists, pathologists do better than their jobs. This is an example. So okay, I'm thinking about a diagnosis, and an algorithm can help me perhaps either confirm or infirm what I'm thinking. So it's not replacing my job. So there are several ways to see the threat and the benefits, of course, of artificial intelligence. Something that we see as well, and that for which that is a potential threat, is of course the fact that the technologies and the companies that are using and that are mastering artificial intelligence are the ones who are growing very much. So the capacity to master artificial intelligence is important for companies and perhaps for individuals as well in the future. And we see some companies at world level that are growing very much, and these companies are mastering these technologies. And of course, as company for us or as continent, it's important to be able to stay in the race and to continue and to have to enjoy this opportunity of artificial intelligence. This is a slide that is not very well done because I have cut apart with a white square, so sorry for the bad design. But basically, there is this report of Agoria, which is the big organization of Belgian companies, network of organization of Belgian companies, about the future of work with automation, in the context of automation and digitalization. In the next few years, and you can see that, so you can't see actually, that, so the sectors, maybe it's too small, but there will be some sectors which will be affected in terms of job losses because of the gain of productivity thanks to technology. So these are the sectors here. But, and it's disappeared, but you will receive the slide. there are plenty of opportunities as well in terms of job creations with artificial intelligence and with technologies. So, of course, on one hand, there will be jobs which will be lost, but on the other hand, there will be jobs which will be created. And I think it's important to know about that and to be able to plan and to, at an individual or organizational level, to take advantage of what is going on already, because it's not the future we're speaking about. So what are these opportunities? What I see in my daily job is that AI, of course, is still, well, the technology and the AI as such is not new. It has been existing for a few decades, but it's growing, the technology is advancing, and everything is still to be done. So it means that there are plenty of opportunities to be created. So we create opportunities as a startup, so from my perspective, but at individual level, there are also plenty of opportunities to be created. So opportunities to be taken and opportunities to be created. 67%, this is the share of companies that are in Europe that are starting to try artificial intelligence, to have proof of concepts and so on. So they are still at the infancy of their AI journey. So this leaves some perspectives for the future in terms of either helping those companies, either working in those companies, and so on. Evolution of jobs requiring AI. So these are figures for Canada, UK, and the US, but you can see that it's growing quite importantly. So you may ask yourself, what are those jobs? So these are figures from UiPath about job offers around AI. So these are the jobs that are looked for. So you have, of course, engineer jobs, but not only. You have also jobs that are at the interface between technology and business. So this is, for example, what I do in my company. I mean, at the interface between technology and business. And you have also, we will have Valérie later on, who is working on sales for Microsoft. So this is an example as well on another tech kind of job, which is a business-oriented and impacted by artificial intelligence and selling an AI product with an AI component. And here is a concrete example, which is retail. So how AI can be, will be impacted in, will be embedded into a sector which is retail. So this is a graph from IBM. So you see the kind of functions that an algorithm, an AI software can have in a company for supply chain planning, demand forecasting. How much are my consumer going to ask of my product in the next few months, weeks, years? Customer intelligence, for example, looking at the sentiment about your brand on Twitter. This is intelligence about what your customer is thinking about you. Marketing, advertising, and campaign management. So all the impact of, for example, personalized marketing, what you already experience each day in your mailbox from Amazon or Zalando, for example. Store operations, you have a very good, very well-known, at least, example now from Amazon, which is automating its stores, which is called Amazon Go. So there are no cashiers anymore, but only cameras and scales. Pricing and promotion. So you have, for example, this rise of dynamic pricing. I won't go into details, but you have a lot of things. These are some examples about how companies can embed artificial intelligence in their operational processes. I'm carefully watching the time. Because as an organizer, I have to do both, not only speaking, but also ensuring that the plan I have defined is respected. And while speaking, I'm late, so I'm not going into the last slide. But this very last slide is very important. I think it's also it's a report from Microsoft, done by EY from Microsoft, I think, showing that 4% of European companies are actively embedding already using AI in their operational processes. So at a daily level, and it's not at proof of concept level or a testing level. So it shows again that there is a plenty of potential for all of us to get involved in this AI wave and help companies. Of course, my focus is companies, but you have plenty of other kind of opportunities besides companies to create opportunities thanks to artificial intelligence. This is a message I wanted to give you tonight.
On time. Well done. So Segelen had a word about AI for Belgium. Important that there are three hubs in Belgium that have been defined as being a place where these activities can be developed, and we are very proud that we've been selected with Digitize as being the place for AI in the region of Brussels. So our next speaker is Valérie Pierre, and she will talk about where the business advantages are of using AI, and we'll use some examples to clarify that. Thank you, Valérie.
I hope, okay, it works, great, amazing. So, as Philippe mentioned, I'm from the business side. Months ago, I was responsible for the marketing and operations division of Microsoft in Belgium, and now I'm working in devices sales division at Western Europe level. So that's how we work at Microsoft. We change job every 3 years, but it means also that we have the opportunity to see other technologies. The thing is that, and also that's one of the messages of today, I think, AI is infused everywhere. So no matter where you work, in which division, no matter what your business is, at a certain point of your life and your professional life, you'll get in touch with AI in the coming 5 years. That's something which is absolutely sure. Microsoft mission, I'm not here to sell you products. I'm just, why I like this mission today is because I think it really represents what AI wants to do. In the 80s, Bill Gates was saying, I want a PC in every home. And today we're saying that we want AI solutions in every home and in every company. And why is it true and why is it getting more and more realistic? It's because now the technology has been democratized a lot versus the future, versus the past. And that's mainly thanks to the cloud and the computing power we have on the cloud, and the fact that cloud is almost becoming a community. And it's also one of the tools you need when you're developing on AI. So this is just showing the speed. That's also one of the messages. You don't have to start tomorrow, you had to start yesterday. That's also the sense of urgency we give to our companies. It's about looking at what they have. What are the frictions of their business? What can they start doing as AI pilot project just to make sure that they grasp the opportunity? And those are the latest breakthrough. Again, the message here, it goes super fast. Every 6 months, there is a human parity record which is reached and broken, meaning that we invent and we progress really at a very high pace. This is also when you see the improvement of the machine in terms of learning, and you have like those specific benchmark. But again, it's really to show the progression of the speeds, and it's really linked to the cloud computing power that you can have today, mainly. And of course, the set of data are also super important. Back to the past, it's not new, it's just getting super fast for the moment. And again, the 3 elements we see are the cloud computing, the capacity of the algorithm, and the amount of data which are today available, which were not available at the time. So they didn't have like this computing power, they didn't have those set of data that could be trained and that could deliver some results and train the machine. So these are again some figures. I think what's is important is the development of the investment in data center, because it's going to be a tool as well to be able to treat all those data and to have the computing power. There is a big challenge in terms of energy saving, with all the discussions we read around the climate. I think that's a big challenge for the technology, storing all those data, making sure the data centers are cooled down and maintained in a proper way. Microsoft is working on that, but it's really something that needs to be improved. This is the Microsoft view, and I think two messages related also to the first one I said, is the tech intensity. That's a word that our CEO used. It's about the ubiquity of the technology. Technology is now everywhere, in every process, in almost every action you take in your life. Technology comes into actions. And this one is also showing that from a technological point of view, you have the cloud that's going to be at the center where you can store your data, where you can process them. And you have all those devices which are going to be how you can capture data to afterwards treat them in the cloud and retrieve results. So all of this also, it's part of, we call it Internet of Things, but that's not only, that's really all those intelligence endpoints that's going to be spread in our daily life. And another concept that we often use is the digital loopback. So it's going to be super key to think when you think about AI, when you think about technology, which data I get, and how do I cross-check, and what do I send back to the device or to the application. I give the application here of the example of Tesla. They have been super good at implementing that in every of their car. So for instance, they realized after a couple of weeks that the brakes were a bit too hard. And so they were able, by getting constantly this information back, that's by measuring the speed of the car which was slowing down too fast, to say, okay, how can we adapt that? And they could adapt it, and from their command center, I would say, deploy the adaptation to the car. And it's this constant feedback loop, which is also something to have in mind when you think about an AI solution. So at Microsoft, we try to take different point of view to think about AI solution. And Ségolène mentioned some of those examples for the retail. So you can take the point of view of your customers. What kind of information need my customer? What kind of services? How can I give better recommendation? How can I improve towards my customer? That's the way to look at it. How can I empower better my employees? Which type, again, of information do they need to make a better job, to make better recommendation, to have better interactions, to be safer, for instance? Optimize operation. How can I better supply? How can I better forecast? How can I better maintain a machine? How do I get the right advice, for instance? How can I know on time my machine is going to break? How can I get some good information when I'm on site to make sure that I make the right maintenance? And transform the product is really about embedding the technology in the product. So business opportunity, that's where we are. Gartner is a research institute giving also advice, and they've seen an increasing 500, the request to them about AI was multiplied by 500. They see AI in the top 5 of business investments, and we expect a 1 trillion shift in terms of investments towards AI. Again, it's not, well, we can discuss a lot about all those figures separately, but it's really to see that the business is going to be massive. Maybe some myths that we try a bit in Belgium to deconstruct, I would say, because everybody tends to say AI and technology belongs to American companies, to a certain extent, maybe no Chinese company. Actually, and I'm not a technical person, but a lot of building blocks of AI are from open source technology, or at least not proprietary technologies. It means that the AI technology is not owned by a company or 2 companies, but that they can be developed by any country. So if we talk about Belgium. AI is opaque, not really. If you look at it, and if you're not afraid of it, and if you dig into the data, into the results, and that you make sure, of course, that you have certain checkpoints to make sure that those data remain readable. And US and Chinese companies, they own those data. They are sitting on this amount of data that we don't have, for instance, if we are Belgian companies. Which is again not true, because most of the AI solutions, what we always say to our customer, you are sitting yourself on tons of data. This is where you have to look first. That's what we're going to do with all the data you have been collecting that maybe are in the basements, but how are you going to do that? How are you going to surface those data to make sure that you can use them? For instance, we've worked with Linkscare, which is a Belgian startup, and they have this recommendation solution for surgeons who are going to operate patients from the knees. And what they've done, well, they have scanned all the previous operations to be able to give some patterns, some risk, some advice about the recommended operations, what should be done after post-surgery to make sure that the patients will better recover. But they just use the data of the hospital. And of course, it will get even better when they will be able to use data from other hospitals. But they have started with the data they had. AI in Belgium, that's the study, and it can be found on the web that Ségolène mentioned in collaboration with EY. 200 companies in Western Europe, 18 responded in Belgium. So you see those names. Obviously, in blue, it's those charts are terribly not user-friendly, I must admit. You need really to concentrate to read them. But the blue is Belgium, and it's to compare with the European average. We see that in Belgium, there is the combination of both is that it's almost at the end similar to Western Europe, but it's considered as very important. So there's no lack of sense of urgency among Belgian companies. And this is the 4% Ségolène referred to. So how you have to read it, so on the vertical axis, the highest, the more matures are companies where the solution, and on the x-axis, it's the number of companies. So you see actually that only 4% have really AI solutions deployed. And on the left side, you see that only 7% are not busy at all. So which is quite good on the left side, very, very small on the fourth side. And there are some pilots, reflection, planifications in the middle. So that's where most of the companies are for the moment in Belgium. At least those who responded. And sometimes we tend to be super, super humble in Belgium, but we have some okay figures in terms of investment, merger and acquisition. We see that we have $110 million that have been invested since 2008. It's not a big numbers when you see the whole investment business, but still when you compare to other countries, we're doing, I would say, quite fine, even better than the Netherlands, so cocorico, and in the same size as Switzerland. But again, it means that we're not lagging behind. It's just perfectly time to start and to be active in AI. Skills. So we've seen that a lot of jobs will be impacted in a way, I think, that they will have to be transformed, not that they will completely disappear. And so with a that's the mindset that everybody must have. I think all departments, everybody will be impacted, but you can get ready for it, and you can learn a lot. So that's also my advice I would give. We are in a world of constant learning. It's just a fact, but it's also great because it means that, and if we talk about AI, for instance, and technology, there are a lot of free courses, classes, online classes that are getting very, very good. You can take a certification for 80, 100 euro, which is recognized on the market. So I think that will be the main consequence, is that we will have to, and I'm taking one of those certifications for the moment, and honestly, it's kind of sometimes hard time, but it's worth it. It will break the silos, I think, in a company, because those solutions, they really need to be cross-departments. And I think it will also create interesting bridges. And those people who will be able to create those bridges will also be successful in AI. Not only the technical skills are important, but as well the capacity to create those to have a global view on the impact on the business. And I think I'm almost there. Next level, technically, just want to say more general intelligence that needs to come. I always say it's nice that the computer can beat the best Go player in the world, but actually the computer is not able to go back home by bus. He doesn't have like this general intelligence. You show a cat to a kid, he knows the machine, you have to show 50 cats. So there are still really gaps in terms of combining the different intelligence. Trust, ethics, then it's worth more than, it's almost. And then I have my two favorite examples, premonition projects. About that, I'm super biased because it's not really business. What we did there is that we wanted, the idea was to predict infections of virus and epidemia. And the idea was to say, okay, normally if we want to do that, we have to test big animals because they're transporting the disease towards humans. And they change the mindset and they say, no, actually we're going to test, it's impossible to do because the territories are super spread, but we're going to use the mosquitoes, our IoT devices. And the mosquitoes were collected by drones. Drones were able to recognize which were the mosquitoes more that they had to capture. Then they crunch the mosquitoes, and I'm sure Christine would be much more able than me to explain what's happening. Maybe they don't crush them, but they are able, through the samples, to understand if epidemic is coming soon. And that's also this mind shift, which I think interesting. And the last example, then I stop. I don't know if you have seen Steam Scare on Canvas. So it was on the Flemish television. They had 10 fixers. And why I like this case, because it's local, because it's a colleague of mine who has worked on that. And she has developed an add-on on an existing application of Microsoft for this blind person to be able to take pictures, because it's her passion in life. She's blind, but she loves to take pictures. And the application is describing what's on the picture, but the pictures were not straight. So she developed a drill. So when the picture is straight, then it's drilling. And when it's beeping, it means that the person is in the middle. And the beauty of that is that it's helping one person. And that's also my message. It's so much the beginning about AI that when she was testing the application, what was really touching is that she's kind of struggling. It's not perfect yet. There is a lot of possibilities. It's going to be super impactful for her. But sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't work. So that's a bit also what we are going to see in the coming years. Thank you. Sure. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you very much. So when Ségolène compiled this agenda for today, she wanted to have a global overview and views coming from all different angles. We had the view coming from Paris and talking about why women in AI was important. We had a view from a startup, not a startup, a young entrepreneur driving her own company. That was Ségolène. We also had the view from the academic world with Christine, which was very interesting. You got the view from a major IT player who has been revolutionizing our IT world over the past 3 decades. We are still missing one view, and that's the view of Europe. And the voice of Europe will be Lucilia, and she has been working very hard in compiling all the good ideas around artificial intelligence and robotics, and the floor is yours.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Good evening. I don't have slides, so I will just be presenting from here in few words why Europe cares so much about artificial intelligence. And yes. Okay. And so let me start from the fact that you have seen it was already presented, the Belgian strategy, AI in Belgium. So Belgium, like the European Union, like many other governments, are very interested in artificial intelligence because of all the things that have already been said, because artificial intelligence is going to transform our lives. So it will transform our economies, our businesses, the society, and there are so many policy needs that would emerge with artificial intelligence. First of all, artificial intelligence brings a lot of benefits and opportunities. They've been listed, you've seen examples, businesses, very much in terms of healthcare, but also climate change, or transport, think of the self-driving vehicles and all that. Lots of benefits that countries nowadays cannot miss. It is therefore very important that we all engage in this transformational power of artificial intelligence. On the other hand, there are some challenges that come with artificial intelligence. Some were a little bit highlighted in the previous presentation by Microsoft in terms of trust. There are issues that come with the transparency of the data, also in terms of the algorithm sometimes. There are issues that come with the bias of the data sets, the bias in the algorithms. There are issues that comes with the safety and the robustness, and so on. So there are issues that policymakers really have to address. But let me start with the benefits and the fact that we really believe we all have to invest significantly in artificial intelligence. When we look at China and the United States, it was mentioned earlier, they're investing much more heavily than we are in Europe. And this is a little bit of a problem. If you read the newspapers, you see the superpowers in artificial intelligence are United States and China, mainly because the big, large corporations, the internet corporations are in those continents. We don't have that many in Europe. And therefore today, if you ask me, but who are the developers of AI in Europe? Well, sometimes I have difficulties in identifying who they are. There are some banks, there are a lot of researchers, because we're very strong in research. There are, automotive companies, but it's not like the internet platforms that have, on top of that, a lot of cash. They can invest in research and they can invest in AI in general. So according to various figures that have been published, in the United States are investing at least 4 times as more than Europe is investing in AI. And China is also going very fast. So there is a need for Europe to invest more in this particular technology and to bring itself to the forefront of developments. Now, how can Europe do that, given that, as it was said earlier, maybe a lot of data are with the large internet corporations and they're not really available to many of the European companies? In reality, there are data everywhere. In reality, Europe is very strong in its industrial sectors. So maybe Europe should not start engaging and pretending to become a leader in business to consumers, but it can become a leader in business to business. We have a very strong industry sector. We have a very strong robotics community. We're very strong in artificial intelligence applied to robots and machines, for example. And we have a lot of research and a lot of startups. So we can put Europe on the geographic map of artificial intelligence, maybe in a little bit of a different context from, say, most of what companies will do mostly in the United States, but still we can do that in Europe, and that's what we are betting on. Now, to do that, we need member states to work together. It's not going to be Belgium alone who can basically invest as much as they're doing in the States, but not even Germany alone, which is our biggest country. We have to have all the European countries do it together. So what Europe does is that what we try to federate the investment that takes place in the member states. So for example, we invest in research. We call for networks of research excellence centers in AI so that we have pan-European networks and we can create a community of developers of AI. When we do that, we create priorities, and then we have member states investing in the same area, and then we have companies investing in the same area. In our research program, we are normally in the area of technology, of ICT, we are able normally to leverage for every €1 we spend in Europe, we tend to leverage 3 or 4 euros that come from the member states or from the private sector. So that is a very important step that we take, and we are increasing our investment of our research framework in artificial intelligence significantly. We already have almost doubled in the past 3 years, but we will continue to do so in the future. And then we also want to invest to make sure that innovation can go to the market much quicker than it does now, because this is a field that if you don't go quick to the market, you lag behind and you remain behind. So we have proposed a new program. It's called the Digital Euro Program. You don't read about these things in the newspapers because for some reason media is never interested in these proposals from the European Commission, but they're there. And we would like to be able to invest about 2 or 3 billion euros in artificial intelligence, in particular in developing big experimentation sites with the member states, and also in helping bringing artificial intelligence to the small, medium enterprises, because this is a bit of a challenge we have in Europe. Most of our companies are small and medium-sized enterprises. It means that if you want to bring artificial intelligence to most of the European companies in all the economic sectors, you really have to make an effort, because small, medium enterprise digitize with a lot more difficulties than the large enterprises. So we fund, for example, technology organizations across the member states, across all the European regions, which have the objective of working with the small, medium enterprises to understand which data do they need, which algorithms they could need to transform their business model and take benefit from AI. And then we also work with the member states in trying to improve the skills and have more talent remaining in Europe, because we actually have a lot of very good data scientists in Europe, but unfortunately we suffer from brain drain very often. And the fact that in Europe maybe the salaries offered are not as high as in other parts of the world, of course means that very often our best researchers go somewhere else. So there is really a need for European countries to find strategies to foster talent, but also to retain it in Europe, and sometimes to attract it from other parts of the world. There is then a need, as it was said earlier, to bring more girls to artificial intelligence, because we need research teams and developers teams that need to be diverse in terms of gender, but also in terms of race and in terms of many different reasons that characterize human diversity, exactly to avoid the biases that were highlighted earlier. And we're really discussing with member states how education policies can be reformed to do that. I personally believe that there is a great need to bring multidisciplinarity in our faculties, so make sure that those who study medicine and that one day can use artificial intelligence in ways like we have heard earlier, are aware of this and know what artificial intelligence can do for them. So to create this awareness, you really need to introduce certain courses in all the faculties. And it will take time because education is very, very slow to reform as a policy. But it's very important that member states are being aware and they are thinking on how they can really reform policies in this sense. Last but not least, everybody is very concerned about the ethical implications of artificial intelligence. So what we have done in Europe is that we have set up a group of 52 experts that come from all over Europe. It's a balanced group in terms of gender, it's a balanced group in terms of businesses, civil society, and academics. And we've asked them to come forward with an ethical framework, but also to tell us how can we tell developers and how can we teach developers to develop trustworthy AI. So they have produced a set of guidelines. Now these guidelines, and which have been published for comments, many comments have been received, and the final set of guidelines will be published in April, at the beginning of April, probably the 8th of April. So if you're interested, look out for this document. It's very interesting because it develops an ethical framework around AI, so it identifies, starting from the fundamental rights of the human beings in the European Union. It develops what are the principles that artificial intelligence need to respect, or at least not to violate, to be considered trustworthy. And so it comes up with a list of principles and key requirements such as transparency, accountability, robustness, and then it presents what we call an assessment list. It's like a checklist that we want to give to companies and developers, questions that these developers can ask themselves when they are developing AI, and make sure that they are taking certain things into account so that they don't violate those ethical requirements. And we are going to put this assessment list or this checklist out for testing and piloting by companies in the European Union, and we want to see, the impacts by sector, by use case, because of course you can have many different use cases even in the same sector. And then we will see from there, we will have a new European Commission at the beginning of 2020. We will have a new parliament as well. And at that point, we will present a proposal to them to bring forward a policy in Europe which makes sure that developments of artificial intelligence that is made in Europe but is also used in Europe are ethical and are trustworthy. So this is the European policy. Competitiveness and ethics go hand in hand. We learned with the General Data Protection Regulation that if you are that if you can trust your data and environment you're working in, you're actually having a competitive advantage. And so building on that experience, we hope to be able to bring ethical AI to European citizens, but also to many other citizens, and try to find an international consensus so that developments of AI globally will be trustworthy as much as possible. Thank you very much.
Well, that was a very nice closing presentation for all the speakers. The next exercise will be a dialogue, and there will be questions asked, and the speakers will come with their chair up here. To facilitate this dialogue, we have set up the Slido questions that you see there. So I will ask you to take your mobile phone and connect to slido.com. And if you go to slido.com, you go to hashtag WaiTALK. Okay, so it's sly.do, and it's not like it's written there. Once you're connected, you will see that there are some questions already asked. It's your opportunity to ask your own question or to upvote one of the questions that are already there. The code is hashtag WaiTalk. Tu peux le mettre là?
We already have some questions, so perhaps we can start with the first one at the top.
Well, I have one question, and it's a question. I really like the graph where you saw that there is more positive feeling about AI than negative feeling, and still a lot of people are worried in general about what's happening, and businesses are also worried because it's like that feeling that was mentioned that China is going faster than we are. So from a business point of view, should we be worried? And I would like to ask the question to any one of you who is ready to answer.
It depends on who is worried. I think that if we talk about, again, European companies, I completely relate to what Lucille has said, is that if we don't gather and collaborate, especially in terms of having the investment power and in terms of also sharing the data we have, of course, we will not be able to be at the same speed as big countries like China and US. Now, why I think that AI remains something positive is that because I truly think that it will allow us to solve problems that we're not able to solve today. And at the end, it needs, I think, a lot of ethical rules and for sure protections to make sure that it goes into that direction. So I would be more worried in terms of how we're going to use it than about the business opportunities. Because I think the dollars will be there, but for which purpose, then that would be more the question, that you need a lot of very major responsible policies, decision maker to grasp the opportunity, but in a good way.
Okay, thank you. That was the answer. We are starting to get some upvoted questions, and one of the questions that has been upvoted a lot is a question about trainings and trainings on AI. Now, we all know that, you need a very solid background in quantitative science to understand how you should build an algorithm, but AI is much wider than that. And if you want to understand how to use it, maybe there should be some examples available. So are there any examples that you know that are really worthwhile watching or looking at?
No. It's complex too. Yes. It's a
Try this one.
It's a bit complex to answer. It depends for which purpose. There are so many different courses for kids to get introduced to AI with makers, with robotic makers kits and stuff like that. Well, there is no specific online courses for women, and I don't think it should exist. Once again, it really depends. What do you want to learn from AI? Is it general? Is it technical? Is it just understand what is it, how it's going to impact my job? To get started, so I think there is many MOOC online with basic introduction to what is machine learning and stuff like that. It's pretty easy to use on MOOC platform, Coursera and stuff like that. I think so, right? Mm-hmm. What would you recommend for general introduction?
I saw today, but I didn't take it myself because Emily, some of our colleagues in Women in AI, shared a course by Andrew Ng, which is one of the most watched courses, MOOCs on AI. And apparently there is a new course on, for example, AI for businesses from a business point of view, or some for people who don't have like a computer scientist background, for example. But if this is something that is interesting to many of you, we can, for example, share after the event or on Slack, for example, some resources, because there are quite plenty of resources, and indeed there can be the question when you're new about what should I prioritize and what is the quality. And I think you have a lot of free access indeed or easy access to education, but quality is also important. So it's a relevant question. So we can share that after the event if that's interesting.
Yeah. What's important about these courses? Know that they did a study, and about 2% of the people who starts a course like that ends it. So if you start a course and you don't really like it, doesn't really matter. Change. Try to find one that you really like, because there's no point forcing yourself through a course. Now, if you want to have a higher level of success rate, what I suggest is to join a group and do a course together. There's nothing much more motivating than peer coaching and working together on a MOOC. We have done some of those MOOCs in the past. We have done the famous Andrew Ng MOOC together, and I can tell you that we had more than 80% of the people ending that MOOC. So just check, do a MOOC, MOOC, on AI, and you will find on Coursera, on all these platforms, that there are a lot of available. Microsoft has released courses both for management as on the technical side. So that's also interesting. There are some courses on the Google platform with TensorFlow and so on. So you just go for it. Now, there are some courses organized where people will hold your hand and go through the different exercises with you. At B Central, there is a course launched for job seekers in AI together with Microsoft, and also here in the summer we are starting our 5th artificial intelligence course that takes 6 months. So take a look at it.
Adding, you saw we did the first masterclass last week. So if in your company you want to have a special course on a special topic, you can sync with Ségolène, and then we can see in our network if we have some trainers, and we can organize this, and it can be very bespoke according to your needs and level, tech, non-tech.
Okay, so next question that has been upgraded is a question about inequalities and inequalities in societies, and there's maybe a question that we can ask. So would AI lead to more inequality or not? That's maybe a question for our public servant of choice.
Yes. I think that it's not so much AI misuse as it's asked, that can lead to more inequalities. I think it's the use of AI or the development of AI in general, which can lead to more inequalities. It can happen if the impact of the development of AI is about making large corporations even richer than they are now. Basically, in general, digital has brought more concentration in our economies, and there is a risk that AI brings that, strengthens that particular effort. So how do we stop that? Normally through redistributional policies. So it's our fiscal policies that help in doing that. And we, in Europe, we have to improve our capability of doing that. But then there are other inequalities, gender inequalities. So if we don't have enough girls coming to study AI, of course, we're going to have AI made, but mostly by guys, and that is not desirable. So we have to improve our education system, make sure that there is more girls attracted to study AI or AI-related courses. There can be inequalities between large and small medium enterprises. That's what I was saying earlier. So we create technology centers which help the small medium enterprises to implement AI and don't lag behind. And then there can be geographical inequalities. So technology tends to bring concentration in the cities at the expenses of more rural areas. We hope with our technology centers to be able to keep enterprises also in more rural areas, and also inequalities between north and south. This is very typical in digital. You have Scandinavian countries, northern countries in Europe tend to do much better than southern European countries. And I think that is also an area that we have to look out for if we don't want AI to exacerbate these trends. Just one addition on not so much inequality, but discrimination. There may be AI applications that bring about more discrimination on the internet. For example, we know dynamic pricing already exists, but one day we may be profiled to an extent that we will be proposed prices according to the income or the wealth that the algorithm or the application has concluded that we have. So for the same thing, I may be applied a higher price than you because I have maybe a higher salary. Given my age, of course, I have a higher salary than you have. This is something that in Europe we will not tolerate. So we already have a number of policies in place to avoid this kind of discrimination on the internet. But we will certainly have to look out to make sure that artificial intelligence does not create economic discrimination, which is an outcome and an important impact that AI may have if we don't pay attention.
Excellent.
I just want to add something, is when it comes to gender discrimination, we can also see the other way. We have, for the first time in the history of humanity, the opportunity to correct the biases in the algorithm and to help billion of women who are discriminated for their gender, not in the Western world, but somewhere else. So if we do it well, we can really change things for all these women.
I would like to go on the non-engineering side of the job of AI. Yeah, we always believe that AI is about engineering, quantitative science, PhDs, at least one. Now, about the question here is, would there be non-engineering jobs in AI?
Perhaps some words about that. There is, it's very large, the possibilities. We talk about ethical aspect, legal aspect, but also about the understanding of learning, of human learning. The beginning of artificial intelligence was to understand how our brain functions. Then there is also some psychologists which are interested by AI. There are also artists which use AI. Then there is also possibility for games and so on. There is a lot of things to do to do with AI or to do in AI?
Basically, AI is not an industry, it's a tool. So you can use it for whatever, to do law, medicine, so everybody's going to use AI, sell AI, market AI, drive some law around AI. Everything is going to work with AI.
Right. So let's round up this this talk, and let's. I have one question for the experts, because who believes there is an AI bubble coming up, that there's too much fuss about AI?
But there is a quote, I don't remember who says that well, AI will become boring. Like your spam filter, it's doing a lot for you, but you don't know about it, you don't notice anymore. And I think that we will get to this point where you don't mention AI anymore, because it's because you just use it every day and you don't care about knowing it's AI. So somehow we will get to that point where it's just part of our life and it's obvious that it exists, but we don't need to talk about it anymore.
Right.
Yeah, in fact, if I just may add, I think we will know that AI has been successful the moment we stop talking about it.
Right. So let's stop talking about it now. Maybe Ségolène, you want to wrap up?
Yes, I want to thank you. First, thank all of our participants, of course, for your attention throughout the evening. Thanks to our wonderful speakers for them adapting to the timing, for speaking about your point of view, for sharing with us all those insights. Thanks to Caroline for coming from very far away. And she arrived in Brussels at 7 this morning. She will take her TALIS now, so thank you for that. And thank you to Procter & Gamble, who you can still see here. Well, at least you can see banners. You have a team here. And if some of you are interested to speak about career perspectives in Procter & Gamble in the field of engineering and AI, you have some ladies, I think, who will be near the banner. So you're welcome to join them. And before you all stand up, I would love if we could take a little selfie, because it's too nice to have such a good audience and all of you. So if you can just let me wait.
Well, thank you, everyone. The next activity is on the 4th of April. It's not Women in AI, it's Data Science Brussels, and it will be about data science and art, or how is artificial intelligence used in arts.
And so you have some drinks and sandwiches waiting for you, so don't leave. Some nice beers, Belgian beers to taste, and nice things to eat. So you're welcome to stay, of course. Thank you.